My jealous ex accused me of cheating and claimed to be pregnant to trap me. But it turned out she was the one cheating and the baby wasn't mine. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I've been dealing with a lot of drama recently. My ex-girlfriend, Sarah, not her real name, she's 26, and I had a pretty ugly breakup about 2 to 3 months ago. We'd been together for 2 years, and things had been getting rocky for a while. Now she's dropped a bombshell on me, and I don't know how to handle it. So, a little background. Sarah and I met through mutual friends at a party. We hit it off right away, and for the first year, everything was fantastic. We had similar interests, loved spending time together, and even talked about our future. I'm a software engineer, and Sarah's a graphic designer. Our jobs are demanding, but in the beginning, we always made time for each other. Our relationship was like something out of a romantic comedy. We'd go on spontaneous weekend trips, try new restaurants, and spend lazy Sundays binge-watching TV shows. We met each other's families, and everyone got along great. My parents loved Sarah, and her parents seemed to like me too. But as time went on, cracks started to show. It began with small comments from Sarah about how much time I spent at work, or how close I was with some of my female friends. I didn't think much of it at first, figuring it was just normal relationship stuff. However, things escalated quickly. Sarah became increasingly jealous and possessive. She'd get upset if I hung out with my female friends, even in group settings. She started checking my phone when I wasn't looking and questioning me about every text or call I got. I tried to reassure her, but nothing seemed to help. One night, I was out with my best friend, Mike, and his girlfriend for dinner. Sarah was supposed to join us but had to cancel last minute due to work, later that night. She called me in tears, accusing me of lying about who I was with, because she saw a Snapchat story from a mutual friend who happened to be at the same restaurant. It took me hours to calm her down and convince her that I wasn't cheating. Things got worse when I started a big project at work. I was putting in extra hours and often coming home late. My team included a few women, and Sarah couldn't handle it. She'd call me multiple times during the day, show up at my office unannounced, and even started following me to catch me in the act. I tried everything to make her feel secure, offering to let her meet my coworkers, sharing my location. I even considered quitting the project, but nothing was enough. The constant accusations and lack of trust were wearing me down. The final straw came when she accused me of cheating on her with a coworker named Emily. Emily and I had been working closely on the project, often staying late to meet deadlines. Sarah saw some texts between us discussing work and completely lost it. She showed up at my office one evening when Emily and I were the only ones left working on a presentation. Sarah burst into the conference room, screaming and crying. She accused Emily of trying to steal me away and called her all sorts of horrible names. I tried to calm her down, but she was hysterical. She screamed at me and even threw a potted plant at me, missing thankfully. Security had to be called to escort her out. I was mortified, and Emily was understandably shaken. The next day, I had to explain the situation to my boss. He was understanding, but warned me that this couldn't happen again. Emily was professional about it, but things were awkward between us after that. Some of my other coworkers started treating me differently too, like I was the guy with the crazy girlfriend. After that incident, I knew I couldn't continue the relationship. I took a day off work and went to Sarah's apartment to break things off. I explained that her lack of trust and constant accusations had become too much to handle. I told her that her behavior was affecting not just our relationship, but my work and other friendships too. She didn't take it well. There was a lot of yelling, crying, and name-calling. She accused me of never loving her, of using her, of cheating on her throughout our relationship. She even threw some of my stuff out the window of her apartment. It was ugly, to say the least. As I was leaving, she threatened to make me pay and ruin my life for breaking her heart. I didn't think much of it at the time, chalking it up to the heat of the moment. I was just relieved to be out of the relationship. For the next few weeks, Sarah kept trying to contact me. She'd call, text, and even show up at places she knew I frequented. Her messages ranged from pleading for another chance to threatening to tell everyone I knew what a cheating scumbag I was. I blocked her number and all social media accounts, and eventually, she seemed to get the message and backed off. I spent the next couple of weeks trying to get my life back on track. I threw myself into work, started going to the gym more, and reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my relationship with Sarah. Things were finally starting to feel normal again. That brings us to last week. I was at home on a Friday evening, enjoying a quiet night in. I'd ordered pizza, cracked open a beer, and was settling in to watch a movie when there was a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I was a bit confused. I opened the door, and there stood Sarah. She was pale and looked like she hadn't been sleeping well. Before I could say anything, she blurted out, I'm pregnant and it's yours. I was stunned. My first reaction was disbelief. We'd always been careful, and given how our relationship ended, I couldn't help but wonder if this was some kind of trick to get me back. I asked her how far along she was, and she said about 2 months. My mind was racing. 2 months ago, we were still together, but things were already bad between us. I tried to remember the last time we'd been intimate, but everything from that period was a blur of arguments and tension. I invited her in, more out of shock than anything else. We sat in my living room, and I asked her how she found out and when she'd taken the test. She said she'd missed her period, took a home test, and then went to a doctor to confirm it. I told her I needed some time to process this. I offered her a glass of water and went to the kitchen to clear my head. When I came back, I found her going through my phone, which had left on the coffee table. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled. She jumped, dropping my phone. "I was just checking the time." "No, you were snooping, just like you always do," I snapped. I had had enough and told her I needed proof before I could even begin to process this information. I asked for a paternity test, which seemed to upset her. She accused me of not trusting her ironic, given our history, and said I should just believe her. "After everything we've been through, you should know I wouldn't lie about this," she said, tears in her eyes. But all I could think about were the countless moments of distrust and drama that had plagued our relationship. So, my ex Sarah had this habit of accusing me of stuff I never did, like lying or cheating. Seriously, it got old real quick. This time, she was saying she was pregnant, but given our rocky history, I wasn't about to take her word for it without any solid proof. I told her that because of how we ended things and her past actions, I needed some concrete evidence. I was like, "Look, I'm open to talking more about this, but I need medical proof and a paternity test." Well, Sarah did not take that well at all. She blew up and called me every nasty name she could think of, saying I was as a coward for not just stepping up and taking responsibility. She even threatened to tell all our mutual friends and my family that I was ditching her and this supposed baby. Then she slammed the door and left in a huff. Since then, I've been all over the place. Can't concentrate at work, not sleeping well, and just feeling super on edge. Part of me wonders if I'm being too harsh. Like, what if she really is pregnant? But another part of me thinks this could just be another one of her manipulation tactics. I've spent hours online reading about false pregnancy claims and paternity rights. I've thought about reaching out to Sarah, but every time I remember how toxic our relationship had become, I stop myself. To be honest, I've been happier since we broke up. I haven't told anyone about this mess, not my family, not even my best friend Mike. I'm really torn on what to do. Am I a jerk for not believing her and asking for proof? Should I have handled it differently? I keep replaying our conversation in my head, wondering if I missed something. She did look different, tired, and stressed, but couldn't that just be from the drama of our breakup? And if she's really pregnant, why wait 2 months to tell me? Shouldn't she have known sooner? The thought of her telling everyone is stressing me out, too. My parents would be devastated if they thought I was abandoning a pregnant girlfriend, and my friends, who knows what they think? I've always tried to be a stand-up guy, and the idea of everyone thinking I'm some deadbeat dad is killing me. But I can't just accept her claim without question. Sarah's past behavior makes it impossible for me to trust her word alone. Bringing a child into the world is a huge responsibility, and I'm not sure either of us is ready for it, especially given how things are between us now. I've even thought about asking our mutual friends if they know anything, but I'm worried about starting rumors before I know what's really going on. And what if Sarah hasn't told anyone else yet? I don't want to be the one to spread false information. There is also this small part of me that's terrified she might actually be telling the truth. I'm not ready to be a dad. Sarah and I talked about having kids someday, but never as an immediate thing. The thought of being tied to her for the rest of my life, given how toxic our relationship got, is overwhelming. And then there's the horrible possibility that the child might not even be mine. She accused me of cheating a lot. Could she have been projecting because she was seeing someone else? The more I think about it, the more confused and frustrated I get. I feel like I'm stuck with no good options. If I reach out to Sarah, am I opening myself up to more manipulation? If I ignore her, am I potentially abandoning my child? I know I need to do something, but every option seems like it could go horribly wrong. So far, Sarah hasn't reached out again, and that silence is driving me crazy. Part of me thinks I should just agree to whatever she wants to keep the peace, but I know that's not right if there's really a child involved. They deserve parents who are sure and committed, not someone who's just along for the ride to avoid conflict. I even thought about getting legal advice, but that feels like such a drastic step. What if this all turns out to be a misunderstanding or a false alarm? Would I be overreacting by getting lawyers involved now? This whole situation has made me rethink our entire relationship. Like, were there signs I missed? Red flags I ignored? I thought I was being a good boyfriend by trying to reassure her and prove my faithfulness. But maybe I was just enabling her behavior. Should I have ended things sooner? It's been a week since she showed up at my door, and I still feel no closer to figuring this out. Every day that passes feels like a ticking clock. If she really is pregnant, decisions will need to be made soon. But how can I decide anything when I don't even know the basic facts? I keep asking myself if I'm the jerk for insisting on proof. Should I have been more sympathetic, more trusting, or am I right to be cautious given our history? Honestly, I don't know anymore. So here I am, turning to the internet for advice. I know it's complicated, and maybe I'm not giving you all the details you need to make a judgment, but I'm at my wit's end. Am I the jerk for not believing my ex and insisting on proof of her pregnancy? Or am I justified in my caution given our past? What would you do in my situation? Update 1. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 weeks since my original post, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give you all an update on the situation with Sarah and her pregnancy claim. First off, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your advice and perspectives really helped me gain some clarity. After a few days of radio silence following our confrontation, Sarah reached out to me via text. She apologized for her outburst and said she understood why I might have doubts. She agreed to provide medical proof of the pregnancy and to take a paternity test once it was safe to do so. I was relieved that she seemed to be taking a more rational approach, but I was still wary. We agreed to meet at a local coffee shop to talk things through. I suggested a public place to avoid any potential drama and keep things civil. When we met, Sarah looked different from when she had shown up at my door. She seemed calmer, more collected. She handed me an envelope containing ultrasound images and a doctor's report confirming her pregnancy. According to the documents, she was indeed about 10 weeks pregnant, which aligned with the timeline she had given me earlier. Seeing those ultrasound images, I can't even describe the mix of emotions I felt. This was really happening, or at least it seemed to be. We talked for hours, and Sarah explained that she had found out about. A week before she came over, Sarah told me she was pregnant and scared about how to break the news, especially after our rough breakup. She admitted her mistake in showing up unannounced and apologized. I listened and shared how her past actions made it hard for me to trust her, and how shocked I was by her news. We discussed options, and Sarah said she wanted to keep the baby, but wouldn't force me to be involved. I needed time to process everything, so we agreed to a paternity test after the safe period of 12 weeks. After talking, I felt a bit better, but still overwhelmed, and decided to tell my family. My parents were shocked. Mom was torn between excitement and concern, while Dad reminded me of our rocky relationship. They supported my decision for the paternity test. My best friend Mike was surprised but supportive and suggested I talk to a lawyer to understand my rights. Sarah and I kept in touch through texts, updating me on her doctor's appointments. Suddenly, a week ago, Sarah called panic-stricken. She was bleeding and headed to the hospital. I rushed over, and after hours of tests and waiting, we found out she had a miscarriage. It was heart-wrenching seeing her pain, despite our history. I stayed with her until she was discharged, and on the drive back, she broke down and apologized again for everything. That night, we talked for hours about the pregnancy, our failed relationship, and our future. She said she would start therapy and didn't ask to get back together, which I appreciated. I told her I needed time and space, and she agreed. Leaving her apartment, I felt exhausted but somewhat relieved. Now, a week later, I'm still processing everything and seeing a therapist, which has helped. I've been reflecting on my relationship with Sarah and my own actions. We've texted a few times. She says therapy is helping her understand her behavior better and has apologized again. I'm not sure about our future, but I don't think we'll get back together. Much has happened, and I think we're better off apart. I'm open to the possibility of a friendship once we're both healed. I've decided to accept the pregnancy was real for my peace of mind and move forward from there. This experience has taught me a lot about communication, trust, and the long-lasting impact of past actions. I'm trying to use these lessons to become a better person and partner. My parents and Mike have been incredibly supportive, and I'm grateful for them. Looking back, I see how shocked and confused I was, but still stand by my decision to ask for proof. I understand now why Sarah reacted the way she did. Fear and hormones can make people act out of character. We agreed to keep this private to avoid unnecessary drama. Work has calmed down, and diving into my projects has been a welcome distraction. This update might not be what some expected, but life is messy and complicated. Got more questions than answers right now, still processing everything, and it's gonna take time to fully grasp it all. Just taking it day by day, focusing on personal growth and healing. Thanks again for all the advice and support. It really helped me navigate this tough situation. If anything major changes, I'll update you. But for now, I'm just trying to move forward and learn from this. Update. I hoped my last update would be the end, but life had other plans. It's been about 2 months, and I'm still angry. Thought things with Sarah couldn't get worse, but I was wrong. After the miscarriage, we barely spoke, just the occasional text about her therapy. Work was a good distraction, and I was even thinking about dating again. Then, 3 weeks ago, I got a call from Robert, Sarah's ex. We agreed to meet, and he dropped a bomb. The baby wasn't mine, it was his. Sarah had been cheating on me and planned to trap me into raising Robert's kid. Seeing the text between them was gut-wrenching. She had used me, lied, and tried to manipulate the entire situation. I confronted her, she broke down, admitted everything. But it was too late. I cut ties completely, told my family and friends they were shocked and supportive. So that's where I'm at, still angry, but trying to move on and build a better future for myself. Thanks for sticking with me through this. One of my friends admitted that she kinda had a feeling Sarah might be cheating. She'd seen Sarah hanging out with another guy a few times, but wasn't sure if it was serious or not, so she apologized for not telling me sooner. I was definitely hurt that she kept it to herself, but I get why she didn't want to get involved. Finally, at work, I told Emily everything. She was super understanding and supportive, even admitting that she always thought something was off about Sarah, but didn't want to say anything bad about my girlfriend. Through all this drama, Emily and I have actually become closer, and I'm starting to see her in a new light. Who knows, maybe something could spark between us in the future. As for Sarah, I haven't heard a peep from her since our blow-up at the coffee shop. I've blocked her everywhere: phone, social media, you name it. A mutual friend told me she's moved back in with her parents and is still in therapy. Part of me hopes she gets the help she needs, but honestly, I just want her completely out of my life. Looking back, our relationship was so toxic. Her jealousy and insecurity weren't just annoying quirks, they were major red flags. I should have ended things way earlier. I've been doing a ton of thinking about why I stuck around for so long. I think part of it was my fear of being alone. Another part was thinking I could fix her if I just tried hard enough. And, embarrassingly, I kinda enjoyed feeling needed, even if it was in such an unhealthy way. One of the hardest things has been accepting the loss of a future I had started to imagine, especially with the whole fake pregnancy thing. Even though I was unsure about becoming a dad, a part of me had started to picture it. Having that ripped away, only to find out it was all a lie, has been tough to process. But I'm also relieved that I found out the truth before it was too late, and that I'm not tied to Sarah for the rest of my life. Recently, I've been focusing on myself. I picked up running again, which had given up during my relationship with Sarah. I'm reading more, hanging out with friends, and even thinking about taking a solo trip somewhere. Work has been a great distraction. I threw myself into a new project, and my boss noticed. He even hinted at a possible promotion if I keep it up. It's nice to have something positive to focus on. Dating? Not ready for anything serious yet. I need time to heal and learn to trust again. But I'm open to meeting someone new when the time is right. This whole thing has taught me a lot about myself, relationships, and trust. If something feels off, it probably is. And trust? Once it's broken, it's really hard to rebuild. To everyone who's followed my story, thanks for the support and advice. You all helped me see things more clearly when I was too close to the situation. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Don't stay in a relationship where you're always doubting your partner or yourself. If someone shows you their true colors, believe them the first time. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. Some days are harder than others, but overall, I'm doing okay. I'm looking forward to whatever the future holds, and I know I'm strong enough to face whatever comes my way. This will be my final update on this whole Saget's time to close this chapter and move on. Thanks again for your support throughout this crazy journey. Here's to new beginnings and better days ahead. Update 3. It's been about 10 months since my last post, and I honestly thought the Sarah chapter of my life was closed for good. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. After everything that went down with Sarah and discovering her cheating, I focused on moving forward, threw myself into work, continued therapy, and started rebuilding my social life. Things were going well, all things considered. That promotion my boss hinted at, it came through, and now I'm leading my own team on a major project. It's been challenging, but super rewarding. Emily and I have been working closely together, and, yep, there's definitely been some flirting. We haven't acted on it yet, mostly because I'm wary about getting involved with a coworker after everything that happened with Sarah. But the attraction is definitely there. Then, about a month ago, things took another turn. I was at the grocery store one evening, just grabbing some stuff for dinner, when I quite literally ran into Robert. Yes, that Robert, Sarah's ex, the one who told me the truth about the baby. We both stood there for a second, shocked. Then, he asked if I wanted to grab a coffee and chat. At first, I hesitated. Did I really want to dig up all that old drama? But curiosity won out, and I agreed. Over coffee, Robert filled me in on what's been happening with Sarah. She'd had a complete breakdown after our confrontation, quit her job, moved back with her parents, and had been in intense therapy. Robert had kept in touch with her parents, feeling somewhat responsible for her state. And then he dropped the bomb. Sarah is pregnant again, and this time it's definitely Robert's. They're not back together, but he plans to co-parent with her. I sat there, a mix of emotions, partly angry. Why does she get to have a baby after all the lies? But mostly relieved that it wasn't me in his position, tied to Sarah forever. Robert seemed genuinely excited, but admitted he was nervous about co-parenting with Sarah, given their history. He said she's made a lot of progress in therapy, dealing with her trust issues and manipulative behavior, but he's still cautious. Before we parted ways, Robert hesitated, and then said, "There's something else you should know. Sarah's been asking about you. She wants to apologize in person for everything." I told Robert I'd think about it, but I wasn't making any promises. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what Robert had said. I talked it over with my therapist, trying to sort out my feelings. On one hand, I had no obligation to see Sarah or hear her out. What she did was unforgivable, and I have every right to keep her out of my life. But on the other hand, a small part of me wondered if hearing her apology might bring some closure. After a lot of thought, I decided to meet with Sarah to get some closure, instead of always wondering, what if? I asked Robert to arrange it, making it clear that this was a one-time thing. We met at a park on a Saturday afternoon. I picked a public place to keep things neutral and avoid drama. When Sarah approached, she looked different, smaller, less confident. She sat down next to me, and after a brief silence, she apologized deeply for everything, the cheating, the lies, and trying to trap me with a baby. She explained she had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and had been going through intensive therapy. She wasn't asking for forgiveness, but wanted me to know she was working on herself. I told her I appreciated the apology, but couldn't forgive her yet. The wounds were too fresh. I did wish her well with her therapy, especially since she'd be a mom soon. She thanked me for listening and mentioned she was happy for me, congratulating me on my promotion and mentioning Emily. After she left, I sat on that bench for a long time, processing everything. It wasn't the dramatic confrontation I expected, just a quiet end to that chapter. Since that meeting, I've let go of a lot of anger. It's not about excusing her, but freeing myself from the negativity. On the personal front, things are looking up. Emily and I addressed the elephant in the room and decided to give dating a shot. Keeping things professional at Wasser RK. It's early days, but it feels different. There's trust and open communication. My friends and family have been supportive, and work is going well. The project I'm leading is on track, and my team is coming together nicely. As for Sarah and Robert, I'm keeping my distance. Robert sends occasional updates, which I appreciate, but I don't want to be involved in their lives. I wish them well, especially for their child's sake, but that chapter is closed. Thanks to everyone who supported me through this journey. Your advice helped a lot during those dark days. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited. This will be my final update. It's time to focus on the future. Here's to new beginnings and the endless possibilities ahead.